Morning, everybody. I hope you had a good weekend, and we'll go ahead and get started. As usual, if somebody will volunteer to be my sounding board as we go through this, that would be terrific. Or in fact, maybe not today because we're going to be doing one part of the script, so we might be pressed for time anyway. So I'll take that back. We don't probably need a volunteer today, but Jeff will be my sounding board as we go through this. And then if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. And we've already had one good question, and I'll cover that here in a second. But if you have other good questions, then please put them in there or raise your hand, and we will get those questions answered. It's a great time to do that. And then as we're going through this preliminary, I'm going to have a little pointer as well as answer a few questions. But we're going to be covering the loyalty versus unconditional love script. So if you want to go to our site as we're talking here in the next few minutes and pull that script up, that might help you as we go through or discuss some of these things. So we're not going to actually go read the script. I'm going to actually break the script down so you can learn how to memorize it and understand why we're doing what we're doing and why it's so important. So that may be helpful to you. So we did have a question from Michael, who was wondering, when you get somebody from other than has not been to an event that shows up for a first meeting, how do you handle that person? Do you just jump into the first script, the agreement meeting script, or do you have some sort of preliminary meeting and then jump into it? Well, that's a great question because you can tell the first script is specifically designed to deal with people who come in from any types of marketing we do. If a person comes in from a referral, you're going to still go through the first meeting script, but you're going to have to modify and probably not do the first setting the tone. You're not going to really use the setting the tone portion, but you will use the rest of the meeting pretty much as described. Because you have to do, like, for example, the unconditional love versus loyalty like we're going to do here, because you don't want to be doing free work. Now, so if they come from a referral, obviously they're half sold already, so and they're not coming with a bunch of questions. If they come to you from marketing, generally they're going to have a lot of questions, right? Because whatever you did in your marketing, whatever you did in your event, whatever you did with the newsletter, whatever you did, whatever, is what triggered them to come in. So they're going to come in with a bunch of questions, and the setting the tone is to make sure they don't ask those questions, because if you answer the questions, they go back to their guy. If you don't answer them, you look like a fraud, or that you're avoiding those questions. So the setting the tone is designed for people who are coming in with questions. Now, if somebody's been referred to you, obviously they're coming to you because they think you're a good person. The person who referred them said that you're a good person, you're a good advisor, and they should work with you so you can actually get by without doing setting the tone. So it kind of depends on where those people are coming from. If they're coming to you based on something you did that piqued their interest, then you're going to have to do the first meeting just as it is with some modifications. So when we talk, instead of talking about the event, you can say, well, in the postcard I sent you, or in the TV show that I did, or whatever it is, you're going to, instead of using at the event, you're going to just use whatever that mechanism was that brought them in. You're going to just substitute that out for the event, and then you're going to mention the things that were covered in that TV show or radio show or postcard or whatever you did in there, because they are coming in. If they're coming in based on some sort of marketing you did, they're going to come in with questions, and then you still have to do setting the tone, or everything will go right down the tubes. So, is that did that answer your question, Michael?
I'm not seeing any other question coming in from him. So, it looks like yes, it did.
Okay.
So.
And then Mickey's saying my voice is cutting out. Is anybody else having problems with my voice besides Mickey?
I'm not having any problems myself, and I'm not seeing any other people with problems. Casey says yes.
Yes, cutting out. So.
Can you guys hear me okay, or am I also cutting out? We have a couple of people asking for the location of the script, so we'll go ahead and
some people are saying. Okay. So is this only Steve and Mickey saying that I'm cutting out? Is everybody I hear just fine? Okay. That's odd that some people are saying yes and some people are.
Yeah, it looks like we've got kind of a little bit of both.
Can hear you both fine.
Both, okay.
Okay, they're going to try to.
Yeah, so Mickey, let's see. Mickey's on the phone, so yeah, if you wouldn't mind, and Jim's on the phone too. So Jim, would you mind going ahead and trying to dial back in. Maybe for whatever reason there's some sort of a weird problem with the audio bridge if you actually dialed in. So if you're dialing in and you're having a problem with the audio, maybe hang up and try to dial back in again.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on there. And then did we have another question or something?
Oh, yeah. People were just asking where the script can be found. And actually, if you go to the website and you click on First Meeting, Agreement Meeting, and then click on the Loyalty versus Unconditional Love, that will actually get you in the right place.
I'm going there right now, guys. So if you go, see right there where I hit the agreement meeting. And then you're going to go down here. Are they seeing it there, Missy?
Yep, they sure are.
And then you see unconditional loyalty versus unconditional love. Then you hit the loyalty versus unconditional love script there. And there it is. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So it definitely looks like that everyone that's on computer can hear us fine. Glenn does have a hand up. So Glenn, I'm going to unmute his line here a second. No. Glenn, did you have a question?
No, I just actually pressed the wrong.
No problem. I'll go ahead and lower that for you. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Okay, it's if you have questions in between here, go ahead and raise your hands, guys. So this week's pointer, and again, I'm going to try to do these pointers on a regular basis on things that you might be able to use today or tomorrow, actually, in meetings that you have, is about what's happening with Goldman Sachs. So what's happening with Goldman Sachs, guys? What's happening with Goldman Sachs? I hope you know, because this is something you can actually use. It's getting killed, isn't it? In fact, last week they lost $2.15 billion in market value, and it's because of one of their top advisors left and said a lot of things about the top brass. Well, here's the thing. This has nothing to do with what he's saying, or a little bit to do with what he's saying, but I want you to understand how the Wall Street works. Now, a lot of you know how Wall Street works. There's been enough books written about that. I think somebody mentioned the Pirates of Wall Street or something here a while back. But this is with Goldman Sachs. So in January, 9 insiders cashed out in $20 million in stock at a price of $7 a share. Now, here's the funny thing about this. As they were cashing in $20 million at a price of $107 per share, guess what Goldman Sachs was recommending people buy to their clients? Want to take a wild guess, guys? What do you think they were recommending people buy? Goldman Sachs stock. Up to, what do you guess that they were saying that they should buy it up to? Up to $171 a share. So they're saying all the public should be buying Goldman Sachs stock up to $171 a share, but what are the insiders doing? Selling. What does that start to make you think, guys? And it gets worse. Because these 9 members of the top brass received these options in 2009. Want to take a guess what Goldman Sachs started doing aggressively in 2009? Let me see somebody type that in there. What do you think that Goldman Sachs started doing aggressively in 2009? Anybody? I don't see any answers. Repurchase, exactly, Mickey. They started repurchase. Goldman Sachs, from 2009 to present, spent 264% of their net income buying back its stock. So guess what they spent basically all of their income doing in the past 3 years? Buying back its stock. Now here's the thing. When would you think buying back your stock would be a good idea? When your company's doing really well or doing really poorly? Because here's what happened. Goldman Sachs in earnings fell from $13 billion in 2009 to $8 billion in 2010 to $4 billion in 2011, and yet they were buying. In fact, their biggest buyback occurred in 2010. I'm sorry, 2011. So in other words, what were they doing? What were they doing, guys? These 9 members were screwing the public, weren't they? Yeah, henceforth the price up poorly, keeping the price up. And they were keeping the price up so they could do what? make tons of money themselves on whose back? So how can you use this, guys? This is just another example that you could use to show your clients that what? The decks are stacked in their favor, or the decks are stacked not in their favor. That they should recommend stock purchases, or they should buy recommendations, or they shouldn't recommend buy or follow buy recommendations. So this is information that you can use to really help to leverage the fact that Wall Street is designed to screw the public for the benefit of those people who work on Wall Street. And the fact is that you shouldn't trust somebody who's telling you to buy or somebody who's telling you to sell unless you know exactly what their motivations are. Does that make sense? So this, yeah, selling the rally Joe Schmo, exactly, Glenn. So that's the little tip for this week. So what we want to talk about this week is loyalty versus unconditional love. And the reason this is so important is because it's the beginning of the end. There's a loose wire in his phone. I think, Mickey, you're the... is anybody else besides Mickey now having problems with my sound? Because if there is, then I'll change, but...
No, I'm not getting any...
Yeah, nobody else is having... I'm sorry, Mickey. I don't know what's going on, but no, we're not... Oh,
Jim Roebuck,
Jim is,
okay.
It's the same three guys then. It's Michael or
and it's
Mickey.
the phone people, because only those individuals that are actually on the phone and not...
well, Mickey and Jim, sorry guys for the rest of you that are hearing me, okay. Mickey and Jim, is there any way, if you have a headset, that you can just plug into the computer and listen that way? Because that's, I think most people, the people who are doing that are not having any problems. Also, it won't cost you any long distance number or long distance either to do it that way. So sorry about that, guys. Mickey says to try that. Good. So why do I call, guys, why do I call the loyalty versus unconditional love? Remember, this is the last 10 minutes of the first meeting. Why do I call it the beginning of the end? And it's not because it's the end of the first meeting. Why do you think I call it at the beginning of the end? Because this is the beginning of the end of the other advisor, of their current advisor. That's why. This is where they start to see that maybe they should leave their current advisor. So just as a refresher, remember, this is the first meeting. It's right here. So we've got just about 10 minutes left, or 17 minutes left before we start the loyalty versus unconditional love. And it should take you about 5 minutes to complete that. So what we're doing here is something that's different than what most advisors do at the end of their first meetings. What most advisors do, me included, before I started or designed the 5Q meeting process, I used to do the exact same thing, which is do what? I was convinced that if they knew I was an expert, if they knew I was smart, if they knew all that I knew, they would just roll over and want to work with me immediately because I was so smart and I had so many good ideas and good techniques and good ways to put them in a better position. So what I do? When I knew that if they knew I was an expert, they would move to me, guess what I always offered? A second opinion. A second opinion. So guess what? When they left that office at the end of the first meeting, what did they visualize in their head that they were going to get? What did they think they were going to get when they left my office? They thought they were going to get a second opinion. Where's the obligation to them? Where's the next move for them? I mean, what is happening in their mind? What do they think they're going to do with that second opinion? Work with me? No. What do they think they're going to do with that second opinion? Take it back to their current guy. So you need to quit offering second opinions. You need to quit saying, would you like me to go through your situation, see if we can find improvements? Guys, if all you do, they're going to say, of course I'd like that. But then what are they visualizing? Moving to you? So if that's what you do at the end of the first meeting, what do you got? So Jeff, what do you got at the end of the first meeting if that's what you do?
Well, you've just got somebody who's going to go back to their current advisor for a second opinion.
But if you were a lot smarter, I mean, if you proved that you were smarter and had better ideas and better techniques, and you put them in a lot better situation, why would they go back to the other guy?
Less hassle and no confrontation.
It's the easiest thing to do, guys. See, what you need to do is have them in their eyes seeing they're leaving their advisor. Because if they cannot even see themselves leaving their advisor, what do you think the likelihood of them leaving their advisor is? Zippo. So the loyalty versus unconditional love is the first part of a three-part script that is the last 10 minutes of the first meeting that has them actually see in their eyes mind's eye, leaving their current advisor. And if they can't see that, Jeff, what's the likelihood they're going to move to us?
Yeah, they're not going to move if they can't even picture themselves moving.
But what if they have $1 million?
They're even less likely to move if they can't picture themselves moving.
But what if they have $1 million in VAs with high expenses and they're paying too much in taxes, and I know I can improve their situation unbelievably. I can save them thousands of dollars in fees and thousands of dollars in taxes.
Well, the truth is, though, that their guy can improve their situation as well. And they'll try that first before they'll try making a lot of changes.
Exactly. Don't think you can Jeff, how long have you been married now?
5 years.
So 5 years. In 5 years, have you met other women who were beautiful?
Oh, yeah.
Have you met other women that were smart and funny?
Sure.
Did you leave them for your wife?
No.
Leave your wife for them?
No.
Why not? Because the fact is that if you love your wife and you love them, what are you going to do?
Stay with my wife.
If you love them and even like your wife, what are you going to do?
Stay with my wife.
And why?
Well, we have a house together, we have cars together, we have kids together.
How much of a hassle is it to leave your wife?
Yeah, it would be huge.
And how much confrontation is it to leave your wife?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So the only way we'll leave our wives, guys, or Jeff, what's the only reason we'll ever leave our wife?
If you're unhappy with your wife.
Yep. So the only reason we'll leave our advisor, Jeff, is why?
If you're unhappy with your advisor.
How many times have we heard from guys that have said, I got this deal in the bag, Mike or Jeff. I've got this thing nailed because I'm showing them these unbelievable things, and they hate their investments, and they've come to us and told me they hate their investments, and they're looking for these new things, and I'm going to be able to show them all these new things. And what ends up happening, Jeff? When they say they come in and they hate their investments, and that's why the guy's going to close the deal.
They end up not getting the deal. I mean, there's a difference between hating your guy and hating your investments. It's not that hard to change your investments. So people will change their investments, even though they might not change their advisor.
So that's the thing, guys. We need to do a gut check with them before they leave this first meeting. Before we lift a pinky, before we do an ounce of work, we need to see, can they visualize leaving their guy in their mind's eye? Because if they can't even do that, it ain't going to happen. So that's the whole purpose of this last 10 minutes of the first meeting. So the three steps of that vision, as I said, there's 3 parts. The loyalty versus unconditional love, which we're going to talk about today. Fair versus unfair, which we're going to talk about next Monday. And then the little secret close. So this is the last 10 minutes. These 3 things are the last 10 minutes of that meeting, and you have to do these. You have to do these because this tells you whether they can actually visualize leaving their current guy. And if they can, and again, only half of them are going to be able to visualize this. But the half that can visualize this, we've got a 90% chance of closing them for all of their money. So, Jeff, why is it worth kicking the other 50% out then?
Well, you have no real shot at getting them.
And guys, we know after 50,000 meetings, Jeff, how certain are we of that?
We're real certain. We're very certain.
And I don't care how good the client looks because they have a lot of money or they have crappy investments. If they can't visualize this, it is not going to happen. And the reason you cannot move them forward is we only all have a certain amount of positive energy that we're given every single day. And if you start to try to move those people who won't even envision leaving their guy, you're going to start missing a lot of cases. Instead of closing 90% of your cases, you're going to be closing less than half of your cases, which tends to give you a bad attitude. And I don't care how much you try to hide your bad attitude, you can't hide it. So you need to go with the 90%. And plus, we only have so much time in the day. Work with the 90%, the people you have a 90% chance of closing. So the loyalty versus unconditional love script, for those of you that have downloaded it, great. And if you haven't, here's basically the layout of this. The first thing we're going to talk about is staying with their guy. We're going to get their agreement that if their guy's doing their job, they should do what? Stay with them. And then we're going to say, for example, with the doctor. If your doctor's doing his job, what should you do? You should stay with him. If you don't, you're a heel. You're not a very nice person if you leave somebody who's doing a good job for you. So why do you think we're doing that? We're doing that so that they realize that what? First of all, one of the first things you want to do with motivational interviewing is make sure that they have a reason to escape, that they're in control of their destiny. And if by doing that, Jeff, by telling them that, hey, if their guy's doing their job, they should stay with them. What are we saying it's okay for them to do?
it's okay for them to stay with him.
Yep, or you cannot force people to do anything. So the first thing you have to do is let them know that they don't have to work with you. So this first step is about letting them know, hey, you don't have to work with me. In fact, if you did work with me when your guy's doing his job, you're a heel. You're not a nice person. You're not a person anybody would want to work with. So that's the first kind of steps here that we're talking about. But then we're going to go and say, but loyalty is what, a one-way street or a two-way street? It's a two-way street. Then we're going to go through some examples. See, the first example we go through is docs, and then we go through an example with friends about loyalty being two ways. And then we go through a spouse. So why do you think, guys, we're talking about doctors, friends, and spouse? Because as advisors, guess what I find that most of us want to do? Talk about examples about doctors and how we deal with our friends and how we deal with our spouses. Most advisors hate this part of the script because they think, what are we doing here? We're just wasting time. Let's just get to the fact. Let's just ask him, hey, if your guy's doing his job, are you going to stay with him? Yeah. If he's not doing his job, you're going to do what? Move. But here's the thing, guys. If you force them into the corner, guess what they're going to do? If you force somebody into a corner, what are they going to do? They're going to try to escape. It's just like a wild animal, right? If you force a wild animal into the corner, they're going to either do what? Try to escape or bite you. And it's the same thing with these people that come in. Because do they really? Have you done any work for them yet, guys? Have you done any work for them at this point? No, I haven't. So isn't it kind of a large leap to be asking them to move all of their money at this meeting? It is. So these people are on the defensive. They are in a corner, and if you and you can make them say they'll move all their money, but if you make them say they'll move all their money, what will they do as soon as they leave your office? If you make them say it, as soon as you leave the office, that is gone. They've escaped. They're running away from you. So you do not want to make them say anything. So what we're doing is what we call the Socratic method. And what the Socratic method is we get them to say that if B is greater than A, and then C is greater than B, then obviously what? If B is greater than A and C is greater than B, then obviously C has to be greater than A, right? So it's the Socratic method where we're getting them to agree that, hey, B is greater than A. I'm sorry, B is greater. I did that wrong. I did it wrong again, huh? B is greater than. Okay? So, and if C is greater than B, then we also know that C is greater than A. And if C is greater than D, then we know that D is greater than A. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get them to have all these small agreements so that when we finally get to E, they have to agree that if all these things are true, then guess what? This one is true. That's what we're doing here. And we're doing it so they have to say it in their own voice, because the only person they're going to believe is who? Themselves. So we're going to get them to say that, hey, if our doc is loyal to us, then we're going to be what? Loyal to our doc. If our friends are loyal to us, then we're going to be what? Loyal to our friends. If our spouse is loyal to us, what are we going to be? Loyal to them. On the other hand, if a doctor's not loyal to us, and what are some examples of a doctor not being loyal to us? Well, not being up on his profession. I mean, if he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing and setting up his profession, and he's treating us as without the most current knowledge, the example we use is ulcers. If he's still treating us with antibiotics and our food and drinking milk and all those things, rather than just giving us an antibiotic, I'm sure, did I say antibiotic? If he's treating us with antacids, a diet, stress, when really they've discovered, what is about 8 years ago, that ulcers can be cured by an antibiotic, then I'm going to have a problem with him, because it's his job to be up on those things. That's why I trust him. That's why I'm loyal to him, because I know his. Now, or what's another reason to be disloyal to, or to be that a doctor can be unloyal to us? Well, what if he's selling a prescription because the pharmaceutical company sends him on vacation, or for him to make a profit on us? That's also an example of being disloyal to us. So if he's not up on his, he's not treating us in the way that he should by being up on his profession, or if he's making a profit off of us, those are things that would cause us to think that our doctor's being disloyal. And if our doctor's being disloyal, what will we do? We'll leave him. And these are things that I'm not going to, so these are things that we walk the client through so they understand that, oh, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, Jeff, how many people would disagree with that conversation about a doctor, that we should be loyal to him if he's loyal to us, but if he's not loyal to us, that we should leave?
No, I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Yeah. But if the first thing we did, Jeff, was to go in and say, hey, if your guy's loyal to you, you should stay with him, but if he's not loyal to you, you should leave him. How many are going to be okay with that?
Yeah, they're going to think that you're trying to manipulate them into saying, I'll leave my guy, when they really don't believe that he's done anything to deserve that.
Right. And you may get them to say it because they look like a fool not to say it, but what's happening really?
They're not thinking that.
They're not thinking that. They may be saying it, but they're not thinking that. What they're thinking is you're trying to manipulate me, I don't like you, and as soon as I get out of here, I'm gone. So, guys, if you watch through the 5Q system, what we constantly do is we get their agreements on non-financial issues. We get their agreement on one non-financial issue. Then we'll get their agreement on another non-financial issue. Then we'll get their agreement on another non-financial issue. But they're all related then finally to when we get those three agreements, when they say is B is greater than A and C is greater than B and D is greater than C, when we finally get to E is greater than A, they cannot say anything but, yes, you are correct. This is the way that it works. But if we go straight from E is greater than A, they could fight that. They say, no, it's not. And I don't care how much you're right, they will fight it, either out loud or in their head, and either way you're going to lose. So what we're doing here is getting them to agree that, hey, that's the way it works with docs, that's the way it works with friends, that's the way it works for spouse, so obviously, Jeff, then that's the way it works for what?
Works that way with everything.
Yeah, so especially what? Financial advisor. Yeah. But if we just go in at first with the financial advisor, they can disagree with that. But if they said, yeah, it works this way for friends, this way for docs, this way for spouse, but it doesn't work that way for financial advisors, they'd look like a what? A fool. Now, the biggest problem we have here, Jeff, isn't it, that the guys go through this script, but what kind of responses do they get from their clients? The mistake. What's the mistake they make?
Yeah, they're guarded, or they're a little bit antagonistic.
Or they get you're absolutely right, and they also will get responses like this. So, Jeff, you wouldn't stay with your guy if he wasn't doing, so you're going to stay with your guy if he's doing his job, right?
Yep. And
your doc, too. You stay with your doc if he's doing his job, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd stay with him.
Yeah, and, because the thing is that if you left your doctor when he was doing a good job for you, that would be kind of disloyal to him, wouldn't it?
I suppose, sure.
So all I'm getting is what from Jeff? Yep, yes, I suppose, sure. Do I really know what's going on in Jeff's head? See, is Jeff really saying these things, or is he just giving me true, false answers? And Jeff, if a teacher, because I know you've got some education background, if a teacher really wants to know if you've mastered a subject, is a true or false or a multiple choice a better way to determine that?
A multiple choice is better.
A multiple choice is better. And if they have to decide, if you want to take it one step further to see if somebody has mastered that subject, would a multiple choice or an essay be better?
Essay would be the best.
So if we really want to make sure the client understands what we're talking about, should we do a true or false or a multiple choice?
Multiple choice.
But if we really want to know if they have mastered the subject of this unconditional love versus loyalty, we need to give them what kind of answer or question?
An essay question.
Yes. So, guys, you always want to go to the essay question. You want Jeff to say in his own words. And yep, nope, yep are not his own words. Basically, he's just giving me true or false, which is worthless. He can't see in his mind's eye what he's saying until he says it in those words. So what I'm going to say is, so Jeff, you've been working with your guy for a long time, haven't you?
Yep, we've been working with him a while.
Yeah, for how many years?
The last 12, 13.
Yeah. So if and he's been doing a good job for you, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I think so.
Yeah. So should you be loyal or disloyal to him?
Should be loyal.
Yeah. And what would you say to somebody who, after he'd done a good job for you, worked hard for 14, and then you just willy-nilly leave him? What would you say about a person like that?
I'd say they're not a lot of integrity, not a lot of character.
Yeah, and why would you say that?
Well, I mean, if he's done a good job and he hasn't done anything to deserve that, I mean, it wouldn't make any sense and it wouldn't be fair to him.
So how different is that, guys, from saying, Jeff, so if your guy's been loyal to you, you should stay with him, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
How different was the first conversation versus that conversation? You got to get them to say it in their own words in an essay format, okay? So the first thing we're doing, and we're going to go through how we do this here in the next half hour, but the first thing we're doing is giving non-financial examples so they can explain to us what loyalty is all about, and that loyalty is a two-way street, not a one-way street, and what disloyalty can look like, all the different forms that disloyalty can take. Then what we're going to do, they're going to say that there's only one entity, one relationship that we have unconditional love for, and that's with our kids. Because we don't unconditionally love our doctors, we don't unconditionally love our friends, and we don't unconditionally even love our spouses. The only people we unconditionally love is our kids, and that gives us the ability to say what? Do you unconditionally love your advisor? And this is where they start to explain to us, because they would look ridiculous otherwise, and because we had them explaining all these things to begin with, they start to explain to us in their own words why they leave their guy. So why is that so important, Jeff? That they explain to us in their own words why they're going to leave their guy.
Well, if they can't even they have to own it. They are the ones that are going to have to go through it. They're the ones that have to own it. And if they can't explain it in their own words, they don't own it.
And when they're explaining in their own words, where are they seeing it?
In their mind's eye.
Yep. And if they can see something in their mind's eye, it can happen. Guys, how much more powerful is it for them to explain to you why they'll leave their guy when they can actually see leaving their guy than just saying, hey, Jeff, would you like me to do a second opinion for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because when I say that, what are you thinking as a client?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a second opinion. That'd be all right.
Yeah, I might learn some stuff. And what do you think you're going to do with that stuff?
Go back and see if any of it makes sense.
And then who are you going to do it with?
My current advisor.
I mean, did it even cross your mind when I say that you plan on doing it with me?
No.
Doesn't even cross your mind. Guys, you do not want these people leaving this meeting with it not even crossing their mind that they're going to leave their guy and move to you. Because all that is a bunch of busy work that you're going to end up doing. And it's going to give you a sour attitude. It's why Jeff and I talk to guys every single day, and we hear all sorts of things about how bad the prospects are. Prospects are so bad; they're just users, they're plate lickers. And why, Jeff? Why do the guys that we talk to have such a bad attitude about the prospects?
Well, I think it's because they do a lot of work for them, and they end up not getting the business.
Yeah, and that gives you a bad attitude. It gave me a bad attitude. But when you close 90% of the people you do work for, it gives you a good attitude. They have to leave this meeting visualizing leaving their guy. And then we're going to give them the big question, and then we're going to have them summarize. You'll notice that what we do over and over and over again is have them summarize. That's the true essay question. Because what I'm going to do is basically have them summarize everything we've talked about up to this point. I'm going to have them summarize keep getting off my thing here. I'm going to have them summarize this whole thing for me. Because what do I know if they can summarize that whole thing after this conversation, Jeff?
Well, that they can at least picture themselves working with you, and there's a high likelihood.
And what also will I know 2 meetings from now? Will they remember this conversation or not remember this conversation?
They'll remember it. You might have to, jog their memory a little bit.
Yep.
But they'll remember it.
Yep. And that's what this is designed to do, so that they could see leaving their guy, and when we revisit this conversation, they'll remember it. Okay? So any questions on this so far, guys? Let's see. We have many affluent clients are diversified standard advice. Okay. John brings up a question that a lot of guys that come on the system are under this false pretense, which is a lot of wealthy people are diversifying their financial advisors. Jeff, how many wealthy people with our system in the past 10 years have diversified their financial advisors when they've seen the 5Q system?
Well, none. I mean, the way I look at it is this way. If a lot of people think, well, they're not going to put all their money with one advisor. They're going to diversify it out. If I had 3 banks that I put all my money in because I didn't want all my money in one bank, but I found out that all 3 of them had lied to me, or all 3 of them had made passes at my wife, am I going to leave my money in those banks?
No, you will not.
So I'm going to move the money out of those banks, and I'm going to move them to wherever I feel the most comfortable. I don't think it's an issue. And that's one of the things that guys have to get over. That's a question that says, well, you know, anything that I show them, they're not going to want to put it all in one thing. They're not going to want to put it all in one investment. They're not going to put it all with one company. They're not going to want to put it all in one stock. And it's really hard to get guys to understand that the purpose of these first 2 meetings isn't to show them better investments. It's to get them divorced from their current advisor. So you're still in the mindset that I'm going to compete, but they're not ever going to see that this is the best or the one best or the... It's not about the investments or the institution, or it's about the guy. And they're not going to stay with a guy or guys that they don't think have been honest with them and given them all the information they need.
Well, Jeff, when our guys have come across somebody with 3 advisors, what is the client found out about all those 3 advisors?
That they're not getting the information they need to make good decisions, that they have to leave.
All 3 were failing on all 21 issues. So if all 3 are failing on all 21 issues, guess what they're going to frickin' do? Stay with one of them? They leave all of them. As Jeff said, if all 3 banks are sleeping with his presidents are sleeping with his wife, he's leaving all 3 banks. And that's what they find, is that all 3 advisors have given them have omitted the exact same things for the exact same reason. And I will tell you that there's an awful lot of billionaires, and guess how many trusted attorneys they have, Jeff?
1.
1. Why only 1?
Because that's the guy they know does a good job.
Yes.
Done. So it's someone they can trust.
Exactly. So the first part of this script, if you've got the script out, is, hey, you should be loyal to your advisor. So we'll say, I'm going to just paraphrase it with Jeff here. I'm going to say, so now you've been with your current advisor how long, Jeff?
At least the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've gotten to know him pretty well by this point, right?
Yeah, we know him pretty well.
And has he gotten to know you a little bit?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's treated you pretty well. You wouldn't have stayed with him for 12 years, would you?
No, he's done a good job for us.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would you think about somebody who would leave their advisor if you've done a good job for 12 years?
Well, I think they were making a mistake. It wouldn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and why wouldn't it? I agree. Why wouldn't it?
Well, if they've done a good job, it just, you're not doing yourself any favors, and it's really not fair to them, especially if they've treated you well and done what you've asked.
Yeah. And to leave him after somebody you get to know who's done a good job for you, I mean, and then to leave him willy-nilly, I mean, what would you think about somebody who would do something like that?
Well, like I said, I don't think they're very smart.
No. That'd be kind of silly, wouldn't it?
Right.
So so what does the client at this point know? That I totally agree that they should be what? Loyal to their advisor. So I'm on their side. What happens to the resistance level? Goes down. Goes down. Okay? So then I'm going to go into the doctor example. So I mean, of course you're loyal to him, aren't you, Jeff?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, just in this conversation we've had so far, that I can really appreciate about you and your wife, is that you're loyal. And that's a great trait to have, because loyalty is important. I mean, just as an example, I mean, say your doctor took really good care of you for a long time, and a new doctor moves into town, would you say, hey, you know what, we should go try that new doctor, just willy-nilly like that? Would you say that?
No, we wouldn't do that.
No, I mean, why wouldn't you do that?
Well, we don't know anything about the new doctor, and we know the doctor that we have is good. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 reasons.
Medical history, and he knows us.
Right, I mean, for both reasons, right? One is that you don't know anything about this other guy, right?
Right.
But more importantly, your doctor has done a good job or a bad job for you?
Well, he's done a good job for us.
Would it really be loyal or unloyal to him just to leave him just out of the blue like that?
Disloyal.
Yeah. And what do we think about disloyal people?
Well, they're not very good people. They're not nice. They're not smart. They're not...
Yeah, are they people we want to deal with?
Not generally, no.
No. So if the doctor's done a good job, you want to be loyal to him for being so good to you. I mean, it's like your advisor. He was good to you, so you want to be what?
Well, you want to be good to him.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way. And I mean, loyalty goes both ways, though, doesn't it?
Right.
I mean, is loyalty a one-way street?
No, it's a two-way street.
And what do we mean by two-way street?
Well, we're going to be loyal to him, but we expect that he's going to be loyal back.
Yeah, because that's the way things work, isn't it? We're going to be loyal to them as long as they're loyal to
us.
But if they're loyal to us, we're not going to go willy-nilly leaving. The only reason we would leave is if what?
Well, if we had a reason to, if they were disloyal to us.
Disloyal to us, right?
Right.
And then we go. So, guys, now we've gone into what? We've gone into the giving examples of their advisor. Then are we talking about their advisor leaving yet or not? No, we're talking about the fact that doctors, and actually this is a minimized script. Once you are very fluent on this, we can actually make it strengthen a little bit more with stories. But because we'll actually go through an Ulcer story talking about how doctors can be loyal or disloyal. So, but the next step is we're going to talk about friends. So, when a doctor or our advisor is loyal to us, we want to be what, Jeff?
We want to be loyal back.
Right. So now, if how about with our friends? Are we loyal to our friends?
Sure we are.
Yeah. And that loyalty can be shown up in any number of ways, can't it? What are some ways that we could be loyal to our friends?
Well, we can help them move, or we can be there for them if they have problems.
Yeah, and we want to do that because if we had those same things, if we needed help moving or we had problems, we'd want them to what?
We'd want them to help us or be there for us.
Yeah. And if somebody's bad-mouthing them, we're going to do it.
We're going to defend them. We're going to stick up for them.
Yeah, because we're loyal to them. And we expect that what?
They do the same for us.
Yes. So if somebody's talking behind our back, if our friends start talking behind our back though, or we find out that that they want us to help them move every single time, but they never help us move, or they want to ride to the airport every time they need to ride to the airport, but they never offer that back, or we ask them and they refuse to do it back, then what do we start to do?
Well, then we're not going to do it for them anymore either.
Yeah, because if we just are doing things for them all the time, but they never do anything back, we consider that a loyal friend?
No.
What do we consider that?
Not even a friend.
No. Because they're showing no what?
They're not showing any loyalty.
So now we've given the example, and I'm giving kind of a shortened version of this as we do in the script, but I'll actually flower this up quite a bit if I need to really sink this home, okay? So now what's the third example? We're going to do spouses, right? I mean, if you think about it, Jeff, even with our spouses, are we loyal to our spouses?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes. I mean, can anybody say something bad about our spouses before we'll punch them in the nose?
No.
No, and if our spouse needs a ride to the airport, we'll do what?
Well, we'll take them.
And if our spouse needs a shoulder to cry on, we're going to do what?
We're going to be there for them.
I mean, that's part of what we sign up for when we get married, right?
Right.
Is to be kind of loyal?
No, to be 100% loyal.
To be 100% loyal, right?
Right.
But even with our probably the closest relationship we have, is it a one-way street or a two-way street?
No, it's two-way.
Yeah, because if our spouse is not being loyal to us, what do we do here in the United States?
And we get a divorce.
Yeah, I mean, we love our spouse, we're going to protect our spouse, we do everything we can for our spouse, but if our spouse empties our bank account, marries my business partner, and moves to Mexico and takes the kids with her, am I going to be loyal to her?
No.
I'll be loyal to her as long as she's what?
As long as she's loyal back.
So guys, guess what I'm just describing right there? What kind of relationship am I describing right there? The relationships I'm just about to show them at the next meeting that they have with their current advisor, which is what? That he's not loyal. Okay? But, there is one relationship we have, Jeff, that's not based on loyalty. In fact, it's called unconditional love. What is the one relationship we have that's not based on loyalty, but instead on unconditional love?
I don't know. I think they're all based on loyalty.
Yeah, and you would think that. Well, let me ask you a question. What if your son takes some of your money? So you find out that he took $300 out of your billfold. He went and he bought his buddies a bunch of beer, and while you were gone one evening, and they had a big party in the basement, and they destroyed the sofa and put a big hole in the wall. Is that showing loyalty to you?
No, I'm not going to be happy at all.
No. But even though they did that, you're still going to be what?
I'm still going to love him. So.
What do we call that?
Unconditional love.
Isn't that really, do we unconditionally love our doctors?
No.
Do we unconditionally love our friends?
No.
Do we even unconditionally love our spouses?
Well, not if they cheat on us or no.
No.
We don't.
So that's not unconditional then, right? Because unconditional means they could cheat, take our money, and do whatever they want, and we still love them, right?
Right.
Do we have that kind of relationship with our spouses?
No, we don't.
There's only one relationship we have that that unconditional love with, and who's that?
Our kids.
Our kids, that's right. So then we're going to say, so do you unconditionally love your advisor?
No, we don't unconditionally love him, no.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if we found out he was not treating us right, we wouldn't continue to do business with him or anything like that. We like him and, we don't have any reason to think that, but if we found that out, no, we wouldn't feel any obligation to stay.
Right, because if he's doing his job, you're loyal and you're going to stay with him, right?
Absolutely.
But if he's not doing his job and you find out that whether it's, I don't know whether it is, whether if it was because he wasn't up to speed on professional things that were going on and his knowledge to put you in the best position, if you found out that he was, we don't know if he's doing this, but, if you found out he was charging you fees that weren't really ethical, things like that, what would you do?
Well, then we would leave.
Because you don't what?
Well, we don't love him.
Yeah, you don't love him. You're loyal to him. And loyalty is based on what?
Well, him being loyal to us.
But unconditional love is based on what?
I guess it's just unconditional love. It's just you love him no matter what.
Right. And we have that for who?
Well, for our kids.
But not for who?
Not for anyone else.
So, guys, you might think I'm beating a dead horse here, but what does Jeff know now no matter what? If his guy is not being professional, in fact, not showing him all the things he's supposed to show them, has not showed him all the techniques that he could be doing to benefit them, if he's not putting them in the best position possible, or if he's charging them unnecessary fees, doing all sorts of other things, what does Jeff know 100% in his mind right now? That he's going to leave his guy because he does not unconditionally love him. Okay? So that's what we're going to get to. So we ask it, do you unconditionally love your advisor? And then we have them see. So is Jeff seen in his mind's eye that he's going to leave his advisor? Yes, if what? So Jeff, are you right now thinking you're going to leave your advisor?
Yeah, if.
If, that's right.
If. I'm not thinking, I don't know if those things are going on, but yeah, if they were going on, yeah, I could see myself leaving.
So we're not to the point where you're saying you're going to leave, right? You're not telling your spouse that we need to leave our guy. You're not to that point.
No.
But what's clear in your mind now?
That if it turns out that he was being disloyal, that sure, we would find somebody else.
And did I say that your guy was doing any of those things?
No.
Did I give any reason to be defensive against the guy?
No.
And guys, why was I not giving Jeff a reason to think I was attacking his advisor? Because every time I attacked his advisor, what was the next thing out of my mouth, Jeff?
Now we don't know if he's doing those things, or we don't have any reason to think that those things are going on.
Yeah, and if it's not going on, you need to be what?
You need to be loyal. You need
Yeah.
to stay with him.
So every time I tell them, hey, it's a contrast. Guys, we grow up and we're taught with contrast. So what I'm having them understand is that if the guy's doing a good job, he needs to what? Stay with him. If he's not doing a good job, you need to leave because they don't continue to love him. I'm just going back and forth, so they are clear in their mind. Have you ever been to an optometrist where he says, he flips those little things back and forth, he goes, is this better or this? This one is. Okay, is this better or this? Well, that one was. Is this better or this? First or second? First, it goes back, because we're trained from kindergarten on to deal with contrast. So what we're doing here is saying, listen, if your guy's doing a good job, you need to stay with him. There's no arguments whatsoever. We're just saying if we discover, we're not saying we're going to have discovered, we're saying if we did discover, what would you do then and why would you do it? And remember, this is just the first step. This is the loyalty versus unconditional love. Next week is the fair versus unfair. Okay? So then what we're going to do is summarize. So if your guy's doing a good job, you're going to do what, Jeff?
I'm going to stay with him.
Yeah, obviously. If he's not doing a good job, you do what?
Well, then we'll leave. Then we'll look at finding someone else.
And why is that?
Well, because he's not doing the job that we hired him to do, and he's not being loyal to us, so we don't owe him anything.
Right, because is he your child?
No.
And our child is the only people we have what?
Unconditional love for.
Yeah. So if he's doing a good job, you're going to do what?
We'll stay with him.
But if he's not, you're going to do what?
Well, then we'll leave.
Yeah. And why would that be the case?
Well, like I said, we don't owe him anything. If he's not being loyal to us, there's no reason for us to stay loyal to him.
Right. And if we instead, what if we went through this, we found out all the things that, and again, we don't know this. As far as I can see, things. There's some things that we need to address here, but we don't know if we're going to find any major things. But if we found major things, and you changed all those things, you went back to him, would that be fair?
No, not really. I mean, not if he's not doing his job.
And why? And who would it be unfair to?
Well, it would be unfair to him.
Okay, so but if he's doing a job, but if you stayed with him, if you found out things were not going well and there were some problems and there were big problems, not little problems, big problems, and it put you in a precarious position, and you went back to him, would that be fair?
No, not really to us.
Yeah, and who else wouldn't it be fair to? Well, first of all, Jeff said something that they would never say. At least not, and maybe he's talked to people. When I ask people that, they don't. The first thing that comes to mind isn't being unfair to us. Guess who they're worried about first? Me. Because I'm asking the question. So when I say, would it be fair or unfair to take all my information, take all these things that we fixed, and go back to your current guy? Who would that be unfair to? They almost invariably say, well, to you, because they think my point is what? They think I'm the one bringing it up, so obviously I must have whose interest at heart, theirs or whose? Mine. So almost invariably they'll say, no, it wouldn't be fair to you. Because obviously the reason they're bringing this up is because they think, I'm trying to be clear that what? Jeff, if I do this for you, if I find things that are wrong, I'm not going to do all this work and then have you bring it back to the other guy. If I do this for you and all this work and invest all this time and effort, and you take it back to your guy, would that be fair? Now, we're not saying it that way, but that's what they think we're saying. And Jeff, what would you say as a client if I said that to you?
No, I'd say, well, no, you're right, that wouldn't be fair to you.
And we want them to tell us it wouldn't be fair to us because it gives us a chance to startle them. And you want this technique of startling them gets them to really listen and change their whole modality, their whole thought pattern. So we want them to say that it would be unfair to us so that we say, oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. No, I hadn't thought. Oh, that's nice of you to say that it would be unfair to me. I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, right. I mean, I guess it would be. But should you really, is your job to take care of me and my family, or is your job to take care of who?
Well, it's my job to take care of me and my wife.
Exactly. So it really doesn't matter if it's unfair to me. I mean, it shouldn't to you really matter if it's unfair to me. It should matter if it's unfair to who?
If it's unfair to us.
Yeah. And then next week we'll go into the fair versus unfair script. That's how you roll into it. So this whole script is getting them to visualize, yeah, there would be some reasons that I would leave my guy. No, I don't unconditionally love my guy. See, it's starting this whole process in their mind that, yeah, there would be reasons we would leave our guy. We're not having them tell us they're going to leave their guy. This portion is just to get them to at least admit that, yeah, there would be reasons. I'm not going to stay with this guy if he's not loyal to me. That's all we want from this, because if they're going to say, no, I'd stay with my guy no matter what, do we want to work with them? No. So what we're going to go from here is they say, yeah, I don't unconditionally love my guy. Here's the reasons I would leave if he's disloyal, if he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, if we find there's big gaps, if he's blah, blah, blah. These are the reasons I'm going to leave. Then the next portion next week, we're going to talk about fair and fair. We're going to have them go through and discover for themselves why it would be unfair to themselves, not to us, but unfair to themselves to take this information back to their current guy, if we find these things. And then we also say, but it'd be unfair to have them discover it'd be unfair to their guy to do that, and it would also be unfair to us. But Jeff, what's the emphasis on the unfairness? To me, to their current advisor, or to who?
To themselves.
To themselves. They have to find it, because everybody is about self-interest. Everybody's about taking care of themselves. So we're going to have them discover next week why it would be unfair to themselves to take our information back to the current guy if he's not doing his job. And then when we do the little secret close, that's where we find out whether this whole whether they were yanking our chain with the conditional love versus unconditional fair versus loyalty, versus unconditional love, and whether the fair, unfair, whether all those things they were telling us were real, or actually whether we did a good job. Because, Jeff, if we do yes, no's through this whole loyalty versus unconditional love, yes, no's, yes, no's, yes, no's, and we do yes, no's, yes, no's, yes, no's all the way through the fair versus unfair, when we finally get to the little secret clause, and I say, so you're going to become a client of mine, what's the client going to say?
Well, I didn't say that I would become a client.
And would that be accurate?
Yeah, that would be accurate. They didn't say that.
All they said was what?
Yep.
Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. They told me whatever I wanted to hear. See, when people say yes or no, how many you guys that have children, how many times when you tell your child, "Do you understand me?" What's he going to say? I don't care if he understands you or not. Jeff, you have a child. You have a 3-year-old. When you say, "Do you understand me?" What's he going to say?
Yes, I understand.
Do you know whether he understands you or not, though?
I don't know whether or not he's going to continue to do what he's doing. Yeah.
And do you even know if he understands you?
No, I don't even know.
When people say yes, that means nothing, guys. When they say no, it means nothing. The only way you know they understand you is to do what? Have them explain it back to you. So that's the emphasis that I was talking about earlier with asking open-ended questions, making Jeff tell me why, making him answer essay questions, not multiple choice or true and false. Now, as we go into this deeper, I'm going to teach you how to get, if you're having a problem getting people to give essay answers, we'll teach you how you can take them from true, false to multiple choice to essay questions. So there's an art to that, and we can teach you how to do that. There's not a question we can't get somebody to answer in essay form by our little formulas that we do. And that's some of the things that we'll be doing at our live trainings. One of them is that we're doing this Friday. So I look forward to see all the people that are coming out to this Friday's training, because that's the kind of things that we train out there, is how to get clients to say that. But does anybody have any questions on what we talked about today?
I just see that Travis has a hand up. So, Travis, I'm going to unmute your line. I'm not sure if you have a microphone, but are you able to ask your question? I think that might be a no.
Okay. So, guys, do you understand then, can I get some yes or no's? Do you understand the difference between asking yes-no questions and essay questions? Do you guys get that? So I got one yes, yes, yes. Okay, lots of yeses. Good. So it's far more powerful to have them answer in their own words than yes, no's. No matter what we're doing, you're going to always find, one of the rules that we have is this, is that if I know, if I can get this, if I know my point, guess who has to say it? So let me see the question of this. If I know the point I want to make, who should be talking? If I know the point I want to make, who should be talking? So let's see. Damn, Dale, good job. The prospect, good. Because me making the point is worthless. If I know the point I want to make, the client has to make the point for me, or it's worthless. The client has to be speaking. Now, if I know what the client is thinking, who needs to be talking? If I know what the client is thinking, who should be talking? Nope, me. If I know what the client is thinking, I need to be talking. And here's what, good for you guys to say that. And here's why. When do I do the talking? When I'm getting on their side. So if they give me an objection, who does the talking? Me. Why? Because I know what they're thinking. They've got an objection to liquidity, so I know what they're thinking. I'm going to start to say what's in their mind. And why do I want to talk about what's in their mind? That's what getting on their side is about. When they know I'm just like them, when they know I think just like them, when they know I have the same opinions as them, when they know I look at the world just like them, that's when they trust me. That's when they'll listen to me. So if I know what's going on in their mind, I do all the talking. If I know what's going on in my mind, and I want them to know what's going on in my mind, then they do all the talking. So at this point, with the loyalty versus unconditional love, I know what's going on in my mind, which is that they shouldn't work with a guy who's disloyal to them because they don't unconditionally love the guy. So the only way I'm going to get them to understand that is for them to say it. Does that make sense, everybody? Perfect. So thank you, everybody, for being on the call. Next week, we're going to go on to the next step of this, which is the fair versus unfair. So appreciate everybody who's been on the call today. Sorry about all the audio hiccups there. I don't know. We'll take a look and see if we can figure out what the problem is. Sometimes they just happen. But again, appreciate that. And also, can I get some feedback? Guys, do you like the little pointers that I do at the beginning, or does that kind of throw you into a flux and take away from the calls, or does that add to the calls? Can I see a few comments there to see if I should keep doing them? Okay, good. I'll keep doing that. Okay, super. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and I appreciate being on today.